One of the most common questions that we get as an agency is always on Facebook ads. Well, in general, social media, but specifically Facebook ads. It is the go-to platform. There's so much to, go over here. And again, we're going to kind of consolidate it into a small bite-sized portion for everybody today. And really just kind of really help everybody familiarize with what to expect and what they're looking at, so on and so forth, to make the most sense of it. Give you a couple of tips, couple of tricks, so on and so forth. But again, hope you guys are ready to rock and roll. So first thing that we're going to start on today is obviously what it is. So social media advertising obviously has exploded over the past few years, specifically within the last 18 months. Why? More and more people are joining than ever before, and in large part due to COVID. I mean, let's just call it what it is. We've all been kind of isolated. We've been searching for that means to be connected, if you will. And so this is one of those big things that, again, you look at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you look at Snapchat, TikTok, all these platforms are really just blowing up, not just with new users, but with engagement as well. And that's the big unit of measure that we're going to focus on today is, again, engagement. You're going to see a lot of stuff in advertising, and it doesn't really matter what platform you use. When we look at the big picture, you're going to see how many impressions or how many people you have the potential to reach. Facebook's notorious for that. Obviously, it's one of their big, highlights or high points, again, when you're actually setting up your ads. But the reality is, truthfully, it's great to reach a ton of people. It sounds great. It's like throwing up a billboard on Interstate 10 going down the highway. In theory, it sounds good, but the reality is you can reach 2.1 million people, but are they really the right target audience? Are they really going to, are they really interested in doing business with you? So, we're going to teach a different way to do things. Again, every business is different, so what works for one may not work for the other, so we don't by any means imply that this works for everybody. But again, what we do and how we do ads, might be a little different than you're doing it now, so hopefully we can teach you something. So, kind of start off as we dive in, we're going to focus on Facebook. Again, Instagram's largely very similar to this, and again, you can kind of cross-pollinate, if you will. But again, there's a tremendous amount of information available on these platforms, which is why they're our go-to. When we look at things like location, demographic, profile information, gender, interest, likes, all this fun stuff, again, tons and tons and tons of information available to us. And really what it helps us do, it helps us narrow down that pool. Somebody, and I'll just pick on my business, for example, we do a lot of B2B marketing. We do use Facebook on occasion. We've ran some Facebook ads, so on and so forth, with, again, reasonable success. And so when you look at this, what we're looking for specifically is small business owners. We don't market to medium to large size corporates. Not that we can't do that. It's just not our target market. So for us, we're going after, again, local businesses, people who want to grow, people that we can build actual relationships with, because that's what this is all about nowadays. So for us, again, we have a means to do this. And again, Facebook's fantastic to really drill that down. I can look for, marketing managers. I can look for really anything in terms of job description. I can also dive into their interests, somebody who, maybe I want to align myself with people who love to go off-road, people who, there's thousands of things. So the point being is that level of data can really help benefit your business. It may not reach as many people as you want. And again, I really caution and I really urge businesses to think about this. Don't always look at that number and think to yourself when you're setting up a Facebook ad that, oh my goodness, I'm going to reach 5.5 million people. Well, that sounds great. It really does. But the reality is your penetration is much smaller than that. So the more granular we can get, typically the more successful our ads are. So again, we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that here in a tick. Looking at this, advertising statistics, looky. This is our why. If you've ever taken a class with me before, I'm big about the whys. In this world, that's, why should I do this? Why should I do that? This is why. So with Facebook, 2.74 billion monthly active users now. That's incredible. If you needed to know, that's incredible. That's an increase of 12% year over year for September. So again, we're talking in the billions, like a 12% increase is unfathomable. I mean, it's incredible seeing how much growth they've had. They just turned 17, if you didn't know. So their birthday was at the beginning of the month. So if that ages you, I remember when that first came out. So yeah, it ages me a little bit too. There you go. Facebook reaches 59% of the world's networking population. So it's the only platform to reach more than half of all social media users. That's, again, this is the why we do this stuff. I mean, you just have the ability to connect with more people. Facebook's the third most visited site behind Google and YouTube, which again, owned by the same thing. So largely you now would expect YouTube being the second largest search engine, kind of a cross between a search engine and a social media network. Tons and tons and tons of options there. We'll talk about that on another class. But again, a lot of those users are also using social media. So looking at this, Facebook, second most downloaded app in the world. Again, turned 17 February 4th. 32%, 32.4 to be exact, percent of Facebook audience is aged 25 to 34. It's a really important thing I want you guys to remember here for later on. It's the largest target audience by age. The next largest is 18 to 24, and then so on and so forth. Arguably, the largest growing demographic on Facebook is actually our 65 and older. So again, they're looking to connect with the younger generation, so on and so forth, just like we all are. So 63% of the US population over the age of 12 uses Facebook. So again, these are all the whys. It really just, all of this data, all of these statistics really just highlight the fact that it's in our face. It's a part of our culture. This is what we do now in terms of social media. And so it's time for you as a business, if you're not on it, this is a fantastic opportunity for you to start connecting with, again, a broader target audience. So next up, we're going to start talking about the types of ads that exist. Now, again, I could show you my page. You know, you got that Cheryl on there. I don't trust her, you know, so she might post something crazy that I don't want you to see, but just kidding. But we're going to talk in general terms about some of these different links, some of these different things that are out there, some of these different ads, if you will. If you guys need help with this, I always stress, advice is free. Please do not hesitate to pick up the phone and call. We can explain things in a lot more detail. We can actually associate things with your business, which will actually make more sense typically for this type of stuff. But again, we want you to be familiar with the type of ads that are out there. I'm going to put my little selfish plug on a couple of things that I believe in most. So again, just pay attention and we'll rock it out. So the first type of ad, and this is probably the most common type of ad that you're used to, is just your link click ads. These are your basic promoting whatever it is you want to promote. Again, they're available in the right-hand column, desktop newsfeed, mobile newsfeed. They're actually available on Instagram this year, so I should probably update this. But you get the picture. They're pretty much everywhere. So this is what most people associate with ads. It's, again, the most common. We're looking at a static image. Again, basic text, so on and so forth. So we'll talk a little bit about the features here in a minute, but really what this ad is designed to do, it's to promote your external website. Send people to landing pages, blog posts, very common to use as ClickFunnels if you've ever dabbled into that. I'll talk a little bit about ClickFunnels at the very end and how to really overly simplify that, but you can use click ads for really anything and everything. Again, back to taking people to websites, you can use them for click forms, you can use them for really anything. So it's very diverse, lots and lots and lots of opportunity. It allows you to deliver the same consistent message across multiple news feeds. So again, lots of benefits behind this. I'm going to give you some best practices of them. They really honestly perform really well and have an unintended benefit of generating likes to your page. So you just got to remember to stay engaged. You know, the day and age of the set it and forget it ads or set it and forget it really anything is gone. You know, we need that personalization. Our inability to connect with our audience right now because of COVID and, you know, restrictions has largely, and again, Cheryl and I had this very conversation yesterday at her office. But when we look at the big picture, it's really largely prevented us from making that social connection. And honestly, as small business owners, a lot of us rely on that to really get our point across. I can't tell you how many times I would love to be sitting on the other side of the table to look that person in the eye and make sure that they truly understand what I'm saying and how it's going to benefit them. But unfortunately, digitally or virtually, sometimes we struggle with that. So when we look at these type of ads, they're really good, again, for creating that brand awareness. But what I want to stress to businesses is exactly that. These are really good brand awareness ads. You know, you have to make sure that you set realistic expectations with these things. And this is where most businesses go wrong. Again, we're all fascinated by that little ad counter there that tells us how many people we're going to reach as a part of our ads. And the unfortunate part is that doesn't mean engagement. There's a huge difference between engagement and reach. And so we want to emphasize the targeted goal, or the goal of this ad, again, I understand for most businesses is obviously lead generation, but really what we're striving for is engagement. The more engagement, the more likely Facebook is, or social media platforms are, to serve up your ads. So we need to make sure that there are certain components included in this that, again, we get right the first time. So when we're looking at this, and again, this is just a simple screen grab that we did. Again, sorry for that's not that clear. But when we look at this, a compelling statement, you literally, you can see based on this ad here, you only have a very, very short amount of text space in order to capture somebody's attention. And what that means is, we got to make sure that when we write ad copy, that we take our time. We don't need to rush through this. There's no sense in throwing out an ad and throwing money down the toilet if we're not going to put thought into it. This also doesn't need to stay static. Again, we can change this. A lot of businesses that I meet with, they'll run the same ad for 30 plus days, which, again, those set it and forget it techniques just don't work. They're not as effective. I can tell you statistically, you need to see somebody's ad roughly, and again, I hear there's varying schools of thought behind this, but statistically speaking, you're looking at about 7 times. So when you really think about this, again, how about changing that message periodically? There's nothing that stops you from doing that. In fact, I encourage it. The more we can create a customized view or a different viewpoint for a client, the better off you're going to be. The other big one here, and again, maybe even more so than the content that we put up here, is that dynamic visual. I stress this every time, every place we go. Any client I talk to is dynamic visuals. And in fact, if we added another key term onto that, personalized dynamic imagery or video. Video is great too, but we'll talk about video in a minute. So if we are using a static image, what we want to avoid is stock photography, because that's not personalized. Again, I get it. Some of these images are fantastic. They look beautiful, but I can tell you this, what's going to capture somebody's attention more so than that beautiful stock picture that they've seen 100 times on 100 different ads is going to be something personalized to you that can really help that person, consumer, associate with your business. So whether it's your staff members having fun, whether it's you having fun, I always say puppies and babies sell everything. So again, Jeanette's going out on maternity here. Maybe we can borrow a baby eventually. But, again, puppies and babies, they sell everything. If you have something, again, a little more unique, your individual products, your location outside of the business, trucks, again, there's thousands of different things we can do to personalize an image here. You just need to make sure that you can capture somebody's attention. Also, too, photo editing. I know it's intimidating for a lot of people, but the reality is you can throw things into, programs like Canva. I know I pitch that a lot on my different presentations, and it's just because, again, it's a free service. You can edit your photos in Canva. A lot of people actually already use it. A lot of people have taken it up, but if you want to add text to your images, you want to really doll things up, flip things around, do whatever it is you want to do, that's a fantastic platform to do it on. Super easy to use, and most important, it's free. So again, just make sure that when you're putting these ads out, you want to take time. You want to make sure that, again, you're doing things the right way. The other thing down here is when you get into where you're sending people, always remember one thing. People that are on social media don't necessarily want to be taken off social media. And that's a concept that, again, despite what Facebook wants you to do, you got to really think that through. When somebody jumps on social media for the day or at that particular moment in time, is their intent to necessarily go to your website? Probably not. Their chances are they're Facebook stalking somebody, they're going through, looking, connecting with family, friends, so on and so forth. Their intent is not necessarily to get hit up with ads constantly. But again, that's the only way Facebook makes money, so it makes sense. But with that said, when we take people off of social media, again, that can sometimes create a poor experience. People don't necessarily want to go off Facebook. So again, if at all possible, you can do Facebook lead forms. We'll talk again a little bit more about that in a minute. But we have Facebook lead forms. We have a ton of different options that we can take them to places within Facebook that will still generate the same thing. Again, you can even create landing pages in Facebook now. On your left-hand column there, you can create little sub-pages within that can talk about your products and services. So that's keeping people on social media, not taking them off, and again, has a fantastic conversion. Last but not least, when we look at this, again, just titles and titles and titles and text and content and all this fun stuff is just, it's money. You've got to make sure that you do things the right way. You need to make sure that, you're capturing somebody's attention. And again, you get one shot to make a great first impression. So do yourself a favor, take time. Ask people for opinions. Don't be afraid to, create an ad. Again, you can do your own A/B testing on it. Send it out to a few people, see what they think. Again, there's a lot of different ways that, you can pull great information out there. Last but not least is going to be the engagement. Believe it or not, we want engagement. Shocker, right? We want people to like, we want people to love, we want people to comment, we want people to share. And so don't be afraid to ask them to do that. When you tag people, you can, not necessarily in your ads, but you can add them to the comments. Don't be afraid to reach out to people, and don't be afraid to ask them to comment on this. Again, this is what's going to ultimately help create engagement with your ad, and it's going to help Facebook and social media channels serve your ad up more often. It leads to a cheaper cost per click. There's a ton of different advantages to it. So again, engagement is going to be key. Remember, Facebook, and again, all these social media channels, they have a vested interest in this. The more attraction or the more engagement that these ads get, the more likely they are to be served, because Facebook thinks, oh, wow, well, this is obviously something that people want to see. So versus ads that don't get any engagement, that largely get overlooked. Again, Facebook's showing these ads, but just not in any significant quantity like they would should you have engagement. So big important features there. Video ads. So I wish I had an example of that, but again, I could probably pop over to my social feed and find one for you here. So give me a minute since we are live. Let's see what we got. So looky. Let's see if we can drag this over here in a minute. But for right now, video ads, again, supported on largely all the different platforms. This is the future. This is where everybody's going to. This is how this works now. Again, back to dynamic visuals. It's just all about capturing somebody's attention. The one thing that I want to stress is this. We don't always want to put audio on. I know you've heard that maybe for those who have attended prior classes. Audio is one of those things as you're sitting there in the movie theater, and you're sitting there at your desk at work, and all of a sudden you're scrolling through your Facebook feed, and all of a sudden just music starts jamming out, and now everybody knows what you're doing. So again, not something everybody wants, typically creates a bad experience should that happen in an inopportune time. I know I have personally been on webinars and WebExes and meetings, and all of a sudden, boom, Facebook starts jamming. Well, guess who got called out? Should have been paying attention, right? So just food for thought. You want to make sure that you are cognizant of that. So I always say, when you're creating ads, don't be afraid to create multiple ads, especially when it comes to video. And you can have audio only or non-audio. Or excuse me, audio only or non-audio. Again, I always encourage, if you're going to do that, I'm going to actually share an ad here that's running currently. So bear with me here. Sorry, my computer's running super slow. So as an example of this particular ad that's running right here, you can see no audio with it. It's a short 13-second little video. Again, great high quality imagery, dynamic text floating through. I mean, this hits all marks. Obviously, it's a marketing company, so you'd hope so. But when we look at this, transform boring social media content, boost your brand social media content with the best ad. So again, catches your attention, really highlights what they're doing. Now, again, they do take you off site, which again is not necessarily a bad thing. But again, we want to learn more. Boom, it's going to take us off site. We got 75 engagements already, 11 comments, 14 shares. So again, largely, we would consider this to have engagement. And again, great ad overall. So I want to touch on these video ads here real quick, because again, a lot of questions come in about these. How long should we do them? Well, it just depends on your product. Again, you can have short little quick animation videos like this, where again, this is what, 13 seconds. So statistically speaking, just depending on the nature of the business, you can get really short, really sweet ones that you're just trying to boom right in somebody's face and you're good to go. Other ads can get a little bit lengthy, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. This, as the data starts coming in, is how we adjust our ad copy as it flows. So again, if we were doing an ad for a medical office and we were doing it on, let's just say, grand opening, we wanted to talk about our products and services. Again, the beginning part of the video needs to really hit that moment. Like, you need to really capture somebody's attention. Ask them a compelling question. Now, grand opening is probably not a great example to use, but let's just say a new procedure is coming into the office. So you really want to think about this. Have a dynamic entry statement, something to the effect of, you know, off the top of my head, of course, on the spot, I would say something to the effect of, you know, are you looking to better your life? Or just, again, some type of really compelling statement to capture attention. From there, we go into something about the business or about the product. We go into a testimonial, and then we can tell people how to do business with us. There's nothing wrong with that. That's going to be a little bit lengthy, longer video, maybe 20 to 30 seconds, give or take. And again, we're compelling somebody to take an action on there. So that's nothing wrong with that. Versus something like this, which is 13 seconds, it's just meant to capture your attention and get you to take an action. So not a right or a wrong way to this. It's just all in how the data starts coming in. So we just really want to pay attention to the data. Other tips here. Let's go back. Yep, went too far. My apologies. So back to video ads. Ad copy text is 90 characters. So that can be a little bit tricky for some people. They really want to kind of overshare information. Again, 90 characters supported. Aspect ratios are 16:9 or 9:16. What this is desktop versus mobile. This is horizontal. If you're doing them on your phone, you know, if you've ever done your videos like this versus like this, you'll know, again, if you shoot it like this and somebody's viewing your video on a desktop, they're going to see the black sidebars. So do yourself a favor. I always recommend shoot your videos horizontal like that. That's gonna, ultimately it's gonna show and render the best out there. File size 4 gig max, especially with some camera shooting in like Ultra 4K now. Sometimes your file sizes can be a bit large depending on how long it is. Your videos can be as long as 120 minutes, but again, top performing videos, 15 to 30 seconds. So all your statistics are right here with what you need to know on video ads. The other thing that I stress with this, don't just do one video. This is where, again, most businesses go wrong. They do one video, they think that that's going to be the silver bullet for all their problems, but the reality is that's not how this works. So again, have multiple videos. Be prepared to explain things in a different way that's going to ultimately allow you to connect with your audience in a different way. Age demographics have a huge role to play in this. So again, the way that I would communicate to an 18 to 25-year-old is going to be very different than how I communicate to a somebody who's 65 or older. And again, that's just by virtue of their experience, life, you know, a whole bunch of factors. So again, we want to make sure that we do things accordingly. Same thing with the ads. Because we have so much data on the backside that we can narrow down, there's nothing wrong with doing one video and having it just targeting a specific demographic, doing another video for another one, so on and so forth. Ultimately, the more personalized you make these videos, the better off they're going to be. Hands down, by far, you're going to get more engagement, more responses, more conversions. Everything is going to be better. Again, it's all about timing. Most businesses, again, I understand, sometimes this takes a long time to do, or if you're paying for these, again, videos can be expensive. But I can tell you, hands down, if you're doing video ads, this is worth its weight in gold. Do it the right way, do multiple videos, and I promise you, you will prevail. Like that, it works every single time. Again, if you have a terrible product, I can't fix that. But most businesses, great products, you just need to nail down your target demographic. You just need to connect with them on a deeper level. Next up, boost page posts. This is another one of those really, really super common ones. Again, available on a variety of different platforms, areas, so on and so forth. So pretty much reaches everybody. This is one of ours. Now you'll see we have Boost unavailable, and that's because we manage our account through a business manager. So again, a little bit different than the average bear. But when you have this type of post up there and you want to boost it, again, this is just, you're wanting to get a topic out there. You want to amplify the reach. It might be something super important, change in regulations, maybe a grand opening, maybe a new staff member, something that you really want to help people connect with. Not necessarily pushing your website. It's not necessarily taking them offsite. You're really just wanting them to focus on maybe a little bit of a tidbit of information. I always look for product differentiators here. So again, where my product want my product to stand out amongst the crowd. Again, industry news or trends that are happening where I want to comment on that, and I want to make sure my clients understand, hey, this is super important. Again, we want to amplify our reach. We're going to boost that post. You can set it up for target audience. Again, this is not, and I want to be very clear on this. People think that this is a lead generation tool. This is not. Boosting your post or boosting your page is a awareness item. that means that we're literally back to the example of throwing a billboard on I-10, boosted posts and boosted pages. We're just trying to create awareness of our business. Now, again, we ultimately hope these people want to do business with us, but at the end of the day, we're just trying to create reach. We're just trying to make sure that somebody sees us. That's it. Again, big misconception. Some people will come in, and I've even seen companies come in where they actually sell lead products like this, where they call this a lead generation product. And I can tell you, you can even look through Facebook. Facebook does not consider this a lead generation product. And that's just because, again, it's an awareness item. So moving on here, multi-product carousel ads. You're going to notice these are kind of up and coming. This is something very, very common. I pick sushi. First of all, I'm starving right now, and I really want sushi. But more so than that, when we look at the multi-carousel ads, it allows us that ability to give a sneak peek. I mean, how awesome is that right there? Because certainly I want to drag that over. I want to see. So these are just as engaging as videos, except they're carousels. So again, we're looking at high quality, high dynamic imagery. They're available on all platforms again. So these are fantastic posts. You can really diversify what you're getting out there. They allow you to show up to 10 videos or images. Again, I don't personally recommend that many. I always try to say, you know, if somebody's scrolling 10 images through, that's a lot. You're probably not going to get me to do that. But depending on your client base, you might. So again, play with it. If you got multiple products, you know, try to keep them similar in nature. What we wouldn't want to do is, if we're a plumber, we wouldn't want to necessarily focus on 10 different services that we offer, although maybe you do. Again, this is really largely up to you. But I would tend to want to focus on specific things that I want to promote. So again, with the carousel ads, lots of flexibility, lots of awesome ability to, again, put those high dynamic visuals. Please avoid stock photography. And again, these are very effective for e-commerce. So if you're looking to promote multiple products, I did have a restaurant that did this. And again, we ran some carousel ads for them on Facebook, referencing the food delivery services. They themselves did not do food delivery, but again, they had a link to DoorDash. They had a link to Grubhub. They had a link to, I think it was Amazon Eats. Again, wildly successful campaign that really jump-started their food delivery. During COVID, that was super important to keep them alive and kicking as a business. So think that through. It doesn't necessarily have to be links per se to your products and services. Again, in that instance with the restaurant, that was a fantastic, you know, campaign to get some additional visibility out there where they can actually generate and earn some income. Other options might be, again, back to, you know, your contractors, stuff like that. Again, you could promote different products. If you're a plumber, you might hit up water heaters, you know, gas, electric, tankless, something like that. If you're a retail store, you got clothing products. Again, you want high margin products here first. So again, you can rotate through different products, services, so on and so forth. There's a lot of versatility behind this. Again, this is a lead gen product. So again, you can use it for awareness, but most of the time we want that user to take an action. If you do have an app, again, that is fantastic. App installs, stuff like that. They're already on their mobile device. They could be on desktop too, but most of the time they're on their mobile device. This is a great product for that. Facebook leads. So looking at this, again, Facebook leads. This is a probably the most common one that we use as an agency. When we're trying for our service-based businesses to generate additional contacts out there, additional information, Facebook leads is fantastic because of one thing: super easy. The client does not have to enter in any information. What it does is, and again, using the example below, somebody's running an ad, again, great ad, great dynamic visual. They click subscribe or buy now or learn more, or any of the different buttons that we can put on there. And then what it does is it actually pulls from their login information. So the information that comes to you as a business is, again, the information that they use to sign into Facebook. Now, I urge caution with this. So the data, I would say, is maybe, I want to be conservative here, and I want to say, 90%. There's always instances where somebody's using somebody else's Facebook login. Hopefully that's not true, but again, we know the reality is kids use it, parents use it, so on and so forth. So you just got to be cognizant of, the information coming in is, let's hope, at least 90% accurate. But again, this is what they use to log in. When they submit, again, all that information comes right over to you depending on what you're asking for. Now, with privacy settings, sometimes this information is not available. Sometimes, yes, they do have to enter it. Again, it's based on that user's privacy settings. But when these leads come through, I really want to stress this. Statistically speaking, you have 30 seconds to reach out to them. And I know that sounds crazy. Most people are like, yeah, that ain't happening. Well, do your best, because again, when somebody submits that information, what we don't want to do is follow up days later. And, again, that conversation would look something like, oh, hey, this is Chris with No Boundaries Marketing Group. You submitted a form on Facebook 7 days ago, and I'm just now getting around to following up with you. I mean, it's a horrible conversation to have. Versus, hey, Graham, I just saw that you filled out your information on Facebook. I just wanted to touch base while it's fresh in your mind. Did you have any questions about our products and services? Again, much easier conversation. It's fresh in somebody's mind. So do your best. Again, 30 seconds is, again, statistically your best. I mean, obviously, you can't. If you can't, you can't, but do it as soon as possible, I think, is the point. When they do that, again, this is kind of a sequence in the messaging and what you're going to see or what they're going to see. They can always visit your website afterwards, so on and so forth. There is some customization options in here, but again, for the most part, this is what you're going to be looking at. We have clients right now that are running these, again, simple, let's just say less than $1,000 a month, and we're looking at 20 to 30 leads a day on something like this. Now, I don't want to promise that. I don't want to get anybody overly excited. It really depends greatly on the industry you're in, what type of products and services you're offering, so on and so forth, and how you put the ad together. But when it's done right, it can really make a huge difference in your business. So again, the other benefit behind this is too, you also get their information here. So again, you can remarket to these individuals. So as long as you have that set up in here that, again, if depending on what your settings are at, you can reach out to these people again over and over again. And again, we don't spam people, we don't do stuff like that. But again, to make sure to see if they're interested and if we can generate business long term. And then last but certainly not least, Canvas ads. These are brand new. I don't know if you've seen these. You may have, may not have, depending on what your shopping habits are online. So these are only available on Facebook mobile newsfeed, and I believe Instagram. Don't quote me on that yet. I'm not 100% on the Instagram side, but obviously I do know Facebook. So Canvas is an interactive ad that lets users engage with your content. So again, think about putting the ultimate app together right on Facebook and letting people engage. So very similar to the carousel. You can see Target's ad below and kind of a sequence here. Again, you have a nice little carousel ad showing feature, a various product or service. These are meant to load super fast. So again, that's the name of the game with mobile. You got to have that instant, quick gratification. So again, this is why it's optimized the way that it is. But you can see this is a 100% e-commerce feature. It takes them to a customized landing page. They can pick from various products or services from you. They can, again, just like as if they were shopping on that company's website, and they can buy directly from. So again, this is Facebook's attempt to monetize the platform even further, above and beyond ads. They know e-commerce grew by leaps and bounds this last year, and again, it's still thrusting forward this year. So we're seeing tremendous growth. This is Facebook's attempt to capture some of that audience. So again, they're really cool. We've played around with these before. I've yet to run a campaign on something like this, but I have had clients do it so far. And again, because it's new, you're going to see some limited success right away because people are unfamiliar. But as this starts to catch on, you're going to be at the forefront of this. If you design your ad and your landing pages the right way, I'll tell you, I think it could be a really cool thing.